So for public health and public policy purposes, we often want to know about the broad population effects of maybe risk factors, for example, lead exposure, interventions, maybe flu shots, or policy changes, maybe handgun control laws or some other policy change. What I'm focused on in this talk and a lot of my work is sort of this question of what is the best decision for the population? So there's a lot of interest right now in sort of what works for whom. I actually sort of take a different tack of kind of if we're going to make a broad policy recommendation or sort of be thinking about population effects, what is the best decision for the population? But there's a second piece of validity that in the causal inference world known as external validity. So there's increasing concerns in a lot of fields about what's called external validity. So external validity relates to whether the results you see in one particular sample might carry over to some relevant target population. So what I'm going to talk about is sort of, are there ways that we can have studies with high internal and high external validities? In an ideal setting, we would have a randomized trial in a representative population. So we would be able to have a population of people, we would randomly select from that population, and we would then randomly assign people to treatment or control. This is ideal and often not feasible. What if we can't randomize, though? Those are maybe what we might try to do, but what if we can't randomize, or at least not in the relevant population that we really care about? So I'm now going to talk through two case studies of projects I've worked on with people here at Hopkins, comparative interrupted time series and then propensity score methods, both of which are ways that we can try to estimate these population treatment effects in non-experimental settings. The first case study I'll talk through is comparative interrupted time series. So this approach is useful when there's sort of an abrupt policy change. And essentially, it's sort of a smarter way of comparing pre versus post. So we can sort of see what was happening in the pre-period, project what would have continued happening in the absence of some policy change, and compare outcomes with what we saw actually happened. In terms of the synthetic control approach, comparative interrupted time series is often a very good and sometimes the best way to estimate the effects of interventions in broad populations. So if we're interested in what were the effects in the entire state of Connecticut of this policy change, this approach allows us to do that. And this synthetic control approach in particular helps us make sure that the comparisons are being done using comparable states in this case. What I'll turn to now, though, is sort of answering the question, well, what if we don't have a population change like this? Or maybe what if we have individual level data that we might want to take advantage of to estimate some causal effect? So I'll now turn to a second case study looking at propensity score methods conducted in sort of at least somewhat representative samples. So I'll take just a few minutes to briefly describe some of my recent work on, well, can we get the best of both worlds? Can we combine a randomized experiment with population data in order to actually get a better population effect estimate? So estimating population effects can be challenging, but is often what we need to make informed policy decisions. There are a range of design options that exist, and again, a lot of that is what motivates my work, both sort of advanced randomized designs in representative or at least fairly representative samples, and then also non-experimental designs that allow population inferences. But hopefully combining sort of high-quality data, rigorous methods, and careful analysis can help us improve public health and public policy.